Hey everyone, today we are diving into Zelle, a real-time peer-to-peer payment network in the US that makes sending and receiving money as easy as few taps on your smartphone. Zelle has become a popular choice for transferring money directly from one bank account to another, especially because it's fast, secure, and doesn't require any separate accounts or wallets. If you have ever wondered how Zelle works, why it's unique, and how it compares to other payment systems, this video is for you. Before Zelle came into the scene, the US payment landscape was largely dominated by cash, checks, and credit debit card networks. For peer-to-peer transfers, options were limited to more traditional channels. Think PayPal, or even sending a check in the mail. Venmo, which launched in 2009, started to gain traction with young users for its ease of use and social feed. But it required linking to an external bank account or debit card. Major US banks saw the demand for fast, easy money transfers and recognized the need to compete. That's where the Zelle came in. In 2017, Early Warning Services, a company owned by several major US banks, including Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, US Bank, PNC Bank, Capital One, and Truist, launched Zelle. The goal was to create a unified bank-backed platform for instant peer-to-peer transfers, allowing customers across different banks to easily send and receive money in real time. With direct access to user banks, Zelle could offer a faster and seamless payment experience within the existing banking ecosystem. So, Zelle was created to meet consumer demands for real-time digital payments while keeping transactions within the traditional banking network. Zelle is essentially a digital payment network that lets users send and receive money directly between bank accounts. It operates exclusively within the US and is linked to users' bank accounts rather than requiring a separate balance like PayPal or Venmo. The entire process is streamlined and accessible right from your bank's mobile app or Zelle's own app, eliminating the need for manually inputting bank account details for each transfer. And here is how it works at a high level. The users sign up for Zelle through their bank app or Zelle app itself. All they need to get started is an email address or US phone number, which acts as a unique identifier. The sender enters the recipient's email address or phone number, inputs the amount, and initiates the transfer. Zelle then identifies the recipient's linked bank account and begins processing. The recipient receives a notification, usually a text or email, alerting them that the transfer is on the way. If they have already registered with Zelle, the money arrives directly in their bank account, usually within minutes. So say your friend needs to pay you back for a concert tickets. Your friend, who is the sender, opens their bank app, enters the recipient's email or phone number and submits the payment via Zelle. The sender's bank, let's say JP Morgan, receives the payment request, verifies the details, and sends the instruction to Zelle. Zelle processes the payment request, performs the security checks like fraud and AML, and routes the transaction to the recipient's bank. That is your bank. You, the recipient's bank, credits the fund to the recipient's amount in near real time, typically notifying them within seconds. And the following business day, which is T+1, the formal ACH settlement process occurs, balancing the accounts between banks to finalize the transaction. So, you get the funds almost instantly, while the ACH settlement process completes in the background on the next business day. With Zelle, there is no middle layer like a wallet or separate account, and there are no fees for sending or receiving money between friends and family. And this makes it direct, quick, and inexpensive way to handle peer-to-peer transfers. Behind the scenes, Zelle's infrastructure is built to allow near-instant transactions between banks within the US. Let's take a closer look on what happens in the background when you send or receive money. When someone initiates a payment using Zelle, whether it's through their bank's app or directly in Zelle, the request first heads through a global API. The API allows the client bank to communicate the payment instruction to platform like JP Morgan Chase that processes it. This is where Zelle starts to come into play. Now, JPM platform handles all the incoming payment instruction, and a few things happen here. JPM verifies the request as legitimate, ensuring everything checks out, and then it does funds control. The step is to confirm that the sender actually has the required funds for the transaction. And then there is booking. Essentially, they log the transaction for tracking and reporting. These initial steps are all about making sure the payment is real, authorized, and funds are available. They are foundational for security and accuracy. Real-time transfer to house DDA. So here is where things get interesting. Once validated, the payment instruction moves to JPM's house DDA or demand deposit account. This is like temporary holding place for internal bank account that will facilitate the transfer quickly. By using the house DDA, JP Morgan can move funds within its internal systems in real time, which speeds up things significantly. With funds housed in DDA, JPM sends a query and additional instructions over Zelle platform. This is crucial part of information exchange. It's where Zelle gets involved to finalize recipient information and route the payment accurately. Now, the Zelle platform kicks in and handles several steps internally to prepare the transaction for the recipient. It starts with core processing. This is where Zelle verifies the payment details and confirms that both the sender and recipient's banks are on board with this transaction. Zelle then runs checks to ensure the transaction isn't flagged or fraud or compliance issues are there, like anti-money laundering. And finally, Zelle logs this payment instruction into its own system. These layers for verification and security checks are essential to prevent any suspicious activity and to ensure that any legitimate transactions proceed. With all the verifications complete, Zelle releases the fund to recipient's bank. This is the part we see as users, the real-time transfer where funds show up in the recipient's account within minutes. If the recipient's bank supports near-instant notifications, the recipient also receives an alert that money has arrived. The cool part, for the end user, the money appears to be transferred instantaneously, thanks to the initial internal transfer and the quick work done by Zelle. But there is one last step. Even though the recipient's bank account shows the money right away, the actual settlement of the funds happen a little later. On the following business day, known as T+1, a more formal ACH or automatic clearing house transfer kicks in. ACH is an electronic network in the US that processes financial transactions in batches. Think of it as the system that handles large volumes of payments like direct deposits, bill payments, and money transfers between banks. But it is designed for efficiency over speed. ACH transactions are not instant. They usually take a day or two to settle. But they are low cost and secure, making them ideal for moving money between bank accounts across the country. In the case of Zelle, ACH is used to officially settle funds between banks after the real-time transfer has already happened. This keeps the process both fast for users and accurate for banks. ACH is where funds are officially settled between the sender's and recipient's bank, ensuring everything is balanced. So even though the money looks like it's moved right away, it's the ACH process that makes sure everything is officially settled in the banking system. This two-step approach, initially quick transfer plus delayed settlement, is what allows Zelle to be both fast and reliable. Now, the most obvious advantage of Zelle is its speed. While ACH transfer often take 1 to 2 business days, Zelle transactions are typically completed in minutes. This is critical for anyone who needs to send money quickly, like splitting a dinner bill or reimbursing to friends for tickets. Zelle's integration within major bank eliminates the need for third-party apps or wallets. So if your bank supports Zelle, you don't even need to download the Zelle app. This makes Zelle incredibly convenient for anyone who prefers to keep their finances in one place. Zelle is free for both senders and recipients. There are no transaction fees, which sets it apart from some competitors that might charge for instant transfers across platform payments. Zelle only requires an email or phone number, so there is no need to exchange account details, making it much safer and simpler for users. And finally, Zelle's integration within banks also mean its benefits from bank-grade security, including encryption, two-factor authentication, and real-time fraud monitoring. Despite its advantages, Zelle does have some limitations. Because Zelle is only available within the US and it limits its functionality for anyone needing to send money internationally. In contrast, PayPal and other services support international transfers, though they come with additional fees. Unlike some P2P payment apps, Zelle requires both sender and receiver to have US bank accounts. There is no wallet option, which might be inconvenient for those without a bank account or credit union account. Zelle isn't designed for commercial transactions. There is no built-in protection for goods and services like PayPal offers. So, it is recommended for use only with people you trust. If you accidentally send money to the wrong person, getting a refund could be challenging. And although Zelle is widely supported by major US banks, some smaller banks and credit unions may not offer Zelle integration, which limits access for their account holders. Zelle takes security seriously, but as with any real-time payment service, user needs to be cautious. Once a transaction is sent, it can't be easily reversed, which is why Zelle recommends using the service only with trusted individuals. Zelle relies only on the robust security frameworks of its partner banks, including encryption, fraud monitoring, and secure access methods. The overall Zelle process combines near-instant transfers for user convenience with delayed settlement for financial accuracy. It's a smart balance between speed and reliability, made possible by integrating banks, Zelle, and the ACH system. Pretty clever, right? So that's Zelle in a nutshell. It's a straightforward, fast, and fee-free way to send and receive money within the US, integrated right into your bank's app.